Well, thanks, StreamYard, for that reassurance. StreamYard made sure to let me know that I'm not scheduled till 3 a.m., but I'm welcome to go live early. Thank you, StreamYard. Appreciate that. Benton here, by the way. What's happening? The action is at Bex's, by the way, at the Bex Factory. 30 in the house last I checked. Bex doing them good numbers. You love to see it. Of course, I take some of the credit for that, certainly, but then again, the folks who've helped me along the way, such as Chalk Body Outline, like it or not, gets a credit for this broadcast. And I'm hoping Mr. O'Shea will come through. He popped into Bex's chat there briefly, so hoping he swings through. Although maybe he'll wait about 15 minutes, perhaps, because, or maybe he won't. I don't know. Maybe I'll put the headphones on, put the earbuds in. Hey, what's up, Roy? Good to see you, brother. If you want to hear a panel, it's going on over at Bex's. Not trying to run you off, but oh, I noticed Snake Diet. He doesn't leave his streams up. It doesn't seem like lately. So I think I'm going to start screen capping. So keep letting me know if he's live and I don't notice, if you would, please, because I think I'll just fire up one of the laptops and screen cap it, because I didn't even get to see like the last two, right, that I knew of. So we had an interesting incident when I was listening to Bex with Russ. I forget his last name, Russell somebody. And I think, I'm pretty sure he was intoxicated. I mean, that's his choice. Hey, what's up, Gary? Gary's comment hasn't shown up on my StreamYard yet. Oh, there it is. What's up, man? Good to see you, brother. But yeah, I want to address some stuff with Russ. I forget his last. Oh yeah, thank you, Russ Coombs or Combs or however we're pronouncing that. So, without recapping the entire event, when I first tuned in, things were still fairly civil, but somehow, well, let me back up here, because I'm not going to be able to recap it. So, the people who saw it. If not, it's on Bex's live stream, I guess around 30 minutes ago, 30 to 45 minutes ago now. But I made a few notes, and just to cut to the chase, I of course went in there and put a stop to the shenanigans, because eventually it was, Russ had looped for a little while, although he probably wasn't the only one looping. Could have seen difficult secret. It takes two to loop, right? Some of the time. But then he transitioned into just straight out spiraling. So that's when I went ahead and inserted myself into what was happening. And Russ exhibited, and I don't know his age, but he exhibited several forms of boomer logic, as I like to call it. So first I pieced him up in the chat pretty hardcore, but I think he was intoxicated, so I don't even know if he was reading my comments or not. But I provided some help to Bex and the panelists, arguably. But then because Bex is somewhat challenged at the level of her hardware, what I think happens is her devices overheat. So she dropped off and came back, and just the shit popped off, right? And it was more or less Russ just taking on all comers. But then there was an interesting dynamic with Bobby, who's, obviously somewhat rejuvenated from receiving the attention of what to him is a younger female, right? And a Japanese scientist claimed to have proven that for an older man with erectile dysfunction, that the solution to that is younger women, right? So it seems like Bobby's, more in touch with his forceful masculine side of his personality, which I found interesting to see. So a lot of things going on over there, but and at a certain point, I really, it was very simple matter for me to completely shred Russ's logic or lack thereof, and that is one of the services I will provide to some of these communities or panels, and when folks have been up all night to some extent, and I'm fresh and I've had my sleep, as long as I can stay out of the cranky old man state and or just minimize it. And then I observe the patterns happening. Well, when I come in and just start saying, basically, I joined the panel and said Benton requesting the floor. And at that point, how the panel had decided to deal with what Russ was doing is just everybody started talking at once, but humorously and for effect. So I just came on and just said, hey, Benton requesting the floor. But eventually everybody shut up. But then Russ didn't want to yield the floor. And I think, I can't speak for him, but perhaps he had some sense of what was about to occur. Basically, I caught him slipping and I was about to rub his nose in it, which sometimes people need that. And then being from a similar cultural background as me, sometimes we need to hear it from one of our own people, right? And he didn't stick around to hear it, but I'm pretty sure he heard me after he either dropped off or Bex backstaged him. I'm not exactly sure. And Bex is like I used to be, where I would do almost anything to avoid backstaging somebody. And I still don't do it very often, but I will. Like, I'll just pull that trigger when it's time, right? I do tend to err on the side of letting things play out. What's up, Emilios, man? Good to see you, bro. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to deprive anybody of the rest that they need, certainly, but that would be your choice. So I wouldn't be doing that. So the boomer logic, where he was at was literal cult programming, and I'm glad Musical the Secret is here. So the point of contention, when we get down to the very heart of the matter, when all of this cacophony of intransigence is happening, and people are getting dug in, and Russ is and ultimately the actual issue was that Mitchell set a boundary, which is basically like, hey, Russ, I don't want your advice. And then Russ, boomer logic was, if Russ believes that he has a pure intention to help Mitchell, and this is just, by the way, this is loss, injury, or harm. So, I have an absolute right to set a boundary around me, and anybody who transgresses against that is attempting to do me harm, whether they see it or not. And Mitchell ain't having it. But Mitchell's not necessarily going to spurg out and just, because we all have seen how Mitchell can get. No offense, brother, if you're in the house. I think he's over at Bex's. And again, the action is most likely at Bex's. It's certainly not here right now. This is a vlog, right? Let's just call it what it is. A vlog where I occasionally get onto some kind of rant, right? But I just want to, and by the way, Nachiketu, I knew how to say his name at one point, and then he's been gone so long. I'm just going to have to call him Notch. I don't know if this is his first return, but I haven't seen him on any panels in quite some time. Where is Bex here? Let's find Bex. There she is. Yeah, 32 watching. So we keep it to, between 10 and 15 over here. I'll be happy. 12. And I think they're going to bring Russ back to the panel, potentially. And then he's victiming. I'm reading the chat. And Russ, right before I joined the panel, also, Russ began to martyr himself and sort of passive aggressively play the victim, which is never cool. Keith, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if Keith's around or not. We're talking about Russ over at Bex's, unless maybe Russ is over there. I mean, maybe Keith is over there. I don't know that he's ever found Bex's channel. Keith, highly suspect's obviously still feeling his way through, right? and again, I've been the drunk person looping on the internet many times, especially on the old, well, particularly EBT's Discord, but certainly Drew's Discord before that, the CBO Discord. So, Russ was not doing anything that I myself haven't done, right? And Russ, I will give him credit. He does have an energy that seems like it can take on all comers, right? Something from that movie, No Country for Old Men. That's how Josh Brolin's character's woman described him. She said he can take all comers. And Russ certainly exhibits part of that. But the boomer logic is, highly suspect suffers from this. Yeah, thank you, Roy. I think that's what you mean. Highly suspect does this to me sometimes, but I ain't having it because it's illogical. So it becomes a sickness at a certain point, and it's based on sick patterns. And Russ, I'm just going to call it like I say it, brother. And not that he's watching, but he does exhibit some sick patterns, or he has today. So Russ believes that his intention, if he has a pure intention to help Mitchell, that somehow is relevant or means anything. It doesn't mean anything as far as how Mitchell takes it. So when we talk loss, injury, harm, we talk boundaries, and we talk respect for another human being. Mitchell gets to decide how he takes what Russ is putting forward. And if Mitchell receives that in a way that isn't consistent with Russ's intention, that's okay. And because we have free will, Russ can try to double down and triple down on his intention. It doesn't mean anything. Mitchell could just be incorrect. He could just be wrong, but he can never be wrong in setting a boundary for himself. He has absolute right to say, no, I don't accept what you're doing to me. Right. And this, when we see Mitchell sometimes spurg out and loop on people being manipulative and harmful, and when he puts on his full fucking victim advocate armor, I believe that's the spirit that comes from. That's just my opinion. What's up, Dal? Good to see you. That's what yeah, I'm not just back on Bex's, if y'all want to check that out. So I'm doing this more or less out of my own, I won't say sense of obligation, but it's my habit. I already scheduled the live. I'm not going to do like Drew. Did Drew ever go live? Drew scheduled a live, made a thumbnail, and as far as I know, shit never happened. It's supposed to be at like 10 p.m. Central. But, so what will happen is, as a person who's who taught himself logic, and I taught myself to think in my 30s, well, I was only able to do that by going to the foundational level, where I found I had no foundation in thinking. I had no foundation in logic. So what I'm detecting in Russ is he's not exhibiting, rather. I don't know what he has or what he does. He's not exhibiting a strong, firm foundation in his thinking and logic. And I have very sophisticated, expert level mechanisms for just cutting through all the fucking nonsense and going right to the basic fundamental level. Okay, and we're going to get into truth. Because I know Music Holds a Secret had a similar experience to mine, where we both went to a building many times, several times a week, and we were around a bunch of bozos that couldn't shut up about the truth. But they spoke of the truth as if it was a possession, as if it was something that was floating by one day. They reached out, grasped it, and then integrated it into their being. No, that never happened, right? So Russ actually began to exhibit a cult programming, and he continued to loop as if the truth is something he can possess and it's a part of him. No, it is not, sir. Truth is manifest, means truth is living, and what is alive is in a state of flow, or dare I say it, a flow state. Surprise, surprise, it just so happened that flow state was somewhat providing the voice of reason. Good to see you, Miss Splurge, as always. If you can't yield the floor, you don't belong here. Well, that's true, but see, again, and thank you, Roy. I'm glad you, and I do have this comical presentment, as we know. Look at this thing. Look at that truck. Look at this. Welcome to Arkansas. Look at this fucking bozo. I have no idea if y'all saw that, but whoever that fella was could not possibly have more lights on his pickup truck. That was hilarious. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Was that a Mexican? I don't know. I mean, that's even beyond what a Mexican would do. So I can always go to the fundamental basic level, always. Now I may choose not to do so, but the fact is, if he's on a panel and he can't yield the floor, what's he doing there? Then it's just, we're going to listen to him. We might as well just drop off the panel then and just listen to Russ talk. But as we've probably seen on Mr. Unslaved's panel, when Paul just finally, from my perspective, has had enough, that's how I'm perceiving, and he drops off and just lets the bozos have the floor. Russ is one of those people that will just sit there and doesn't know what the fuck to say, right? And until Russ demonstrates that he can just go onto a stage and speak extemporaneously at length off the top of his head, I'm just going to assume he cannot do that, right? Until proven otherwise. So if he can't yield the floor, what the fuck is he doing up there? Meanwhile, we've all seen Benton loop. Eventually, I will exhibit an ability to yield the floor when requested. Okay, and we saw Russ was unable to do this. And then I just said bitch, and I don't like calling names, but I just said backstage is bitch ass. And maybe he got backstage, maybe he left. I don't know. I think I heard him say, I'm out of here. But the boomer logic is he has an intention to help Mitchell. Well, guess what? Thank God for the hippies and the lefties and the so-called liberals out west who taught me that advice unasked for is aggression. That's aggression. And what we saw from Russ is at a certain point, he could not listen. He could not get himself under control. And all he could do was continue to press forward. And it almost worked. It almost worked. And part of this is the folks on the panel were Mitchell, choosing not to assert himself. Clearly Mitchell is capable of this. He doesn't need me to come assert myself. But, sometimes I choose, like what we saw with Z. I'm just like, Z's calling out the whole panel. I just wasn't in a space where I could devote my energy to fucking clearing the room, right? I just wasn't going to do that. And I wasn't going to backstage him. But I did backstage Russ because Russ wasn't making any fucking sense at the time. Why was Russ not making sense? No foundation in logic, right? No foundation in his thinking. And this is something I've talked about many times on this channel, is that so many folks, because Russ probably does have a decent IQ, right? He's not a dumb person. He's pretty sharp in many ways that I've observed. But without that foundation in thinking, as I've talked about, so what happens is the being, to borrow a vernacular from Paul Enslaved, and I'm attempting to get out of this thing where I just say you, but I mean one, right? So the being not having developed, well, part of not developing the foundation is the being skips to what's sophisticated and what's complicated without ever establishing that firm foundation in thought and reason and logic. And part of this does come back to the title of Bex's stream, which has something to do with intellectual honesty, or what I would refer to as intellectual integrity, which, I don't always necessarily exhibit. And I will be disingenuous at times, certainly, especially around folks who aren't able to see what I'm doing or aren't able to counteract it at times. But generally speaking, when somebody hits me with a form of logic that I know to be sound, I will yield to the logic almost every time, because that's based on my own sense of intellectual integrity, which is it's for me. It's part of my code. It doesn't have anything to do with anybody else, right? Yeah, thank God for the hippies, indeed. Yeah, actual hippies. So I'm one of these people who, comes across as a know-it-all. And in one of my less evolved forms, I somehow felt it was appropriate to go around just fucking dispensing advice to people. Well, this is aggression, right? Well, I was around a bunch of people who were willing to accept me. However, because I was socialized in an environment where I was never punished for my overt aggression, especially if I didn't become physically violent, which I never do. However, these people were willing to accept me, but they were not ever going to interface with me getting angry and lashing out. They just wouldn't, but they would never respond in kind. They just would basically just start shaking their heads and be like, what the fuck is this dude doing, basically. But then because I had a true desire to grow and change as a person, now I'm receiving their feedback, especially their facial expressions. And I had never been in a culture, where I grew up. If I got angry and started latching out, not only was that allowed and almost seen as a good thing, motherfuckers wanted to pull up a chair and watch it like it was Jerry Springer and participate to some extent, right? So I see all of this as it unfolds. It's very easy for me to spot it. There you go, Roy. And by the way, if I can prove, so here's where the logic comes in, Roy. If I can prove that what Russ is referring to as truth is actually something he's captured and is attempting to hold on to, well, that can never be a lie, right? Because if it's in flow and he grabs it and brings it to himself and clings to it, it now dies, right? Whatever that is that he's attempting to hold in his hands and show to us and call truth. Hey, man, truth, no, that's a dead thing. And by definition can never be truth. I figured this out on my own out of necessity in the process of undoing all of this cult programming, AKA the Jehovah's Witness, a religion that I never consented to and never joined, right? But they won't shut the fuck up about the truth. And at a certain point, Russ would not shut the fuck up about the truth and his intention to help Mitchell. And Mitchell's basically like, I don't want your help. So what even is this? And that's Mitchell's absolute right to reject anybody's assistance. And now that's setting a boundary. Now that it doesn't reflect on Mitchell when Russ attempts to continue to go forward and press forward. Now, I don't know Russ's background, but I'm just going to go ahead and say meth. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Maybe he's just a very thin Southern man, or not very thin. Maybe he's just a thin Southern man of a certain age, you know, based upon a proper diet and exercise. But I don't think so. I'm thinking meth. Now, I'm not saying he does meth now. I'm saying I think that the meth, but some people are just thin. Every once in a while, it's just a thin person, right? Every once in a while, it's just a thin person. So I might be wrong. More often than not, and by the way, because I'm 120 pounds, as far as damn near everybody out here is concerned, that's why I'm thin, right? So I might be painting him with the same brush I'm painted with. I have no idea. But I'm playing the odds, and if he corrects the record, I'll be like, all right, man, thanks for correcting the record, and I'll take him at his word. But until then, I'm just going to assume, right? Assume that there's some background in meth. So what I've observed firsthand with these people who've used and abused meth is they get involved in these various very unhealthy dynamics involving nobody has a proper boundary at a certain point. And I mean nobody. So you've got people who use a certain drug, only hang out with people who use that drug, and absolutely none of them is aware of, gives a flying fuck about, or has the capability of enforcing healthy boundaries or respecting healthy boundaries, which is what Russ exhibited. Now some of these people, here's how they get off the meth. They go to alcohol, which does, by the way, for somebody who has whatever that gene is that likes to get fucked up that I have, alcohol actually is a stimulant for those people, believe it or not. Yes, it's a central nervous system depressant, but when I drink, it acts as a stimulant, right? And what I saw in Russ was an energized person who was absolutely under the influence of alcohol. There's no question about it. And I've seen him drinking beer on cam. That's fine. Believe me, if I want to go drink today, I will, but I'm not going to. If I want to drink tomorrow, I will, but probably I won't, right? These are all the things that are happening. Now, can the being observe himself, right? And can the being always go to the foundational level of logic? And meanwhile, Russ ain't smart enough to make a blunder and then recover from the blunder. So now, okay, I see the blunder. Now I know I can go in. Because he ain't Bobby Fischer. Bobby Fischer most likely intentionally committed a blunder in the first game of his match for the World Chess Championship against Boris Spassky. Pretty sure he did it on purpose, right? Russ ain't got it like that. I don't have it like that necessarily. Once I see the blunder, there's no way I can be wrong. Now, he can continue to attempt to assert himself. But now, what does Paul say? Paul Enslaved says, the wicked flee when none pursueth. Well, he fucking fled because I'm coming in with the righteousness. And it ain't about Benton. It's about, what can be gleaned from all of this? What can we glean from all of this? Well, Russ is not interrogating his ideas. And this is something I talk about frequently. I interrogate the fuck out of all of my ideas. I have to, or I choose to, because I don't have the luxury of committing blunders. And until I ruthlessly interrogate my own thought forms and ideas, I may not understand that, this thing would represent a blunder in the context of now, some folks may say, what are you talking about? We're not playing chess. We're not playing poker. These are human beings, emotional human beings discussing ideas. Yeah, but they're still ideas. And that has nothing to do with an emotion, right? What I mean by that is the nature of the idea, the thought, and the logic is rationality. The nature of the feeling or the emotion is irrationality. Meanwhile, in mathematics, there's something called irrational number, right? Mathematics itself accounts for the irrational, right? So in some way, emotions themselves are perhaps mathematical. I don't know. There you go. El Pistolero says opioids acted as a stimulant for him. Yeah, exactly. And I had oral surgery in my early 20s. They gave me something I'm assuming was like hydroxy, what do they call it? I don't even know what the opiates are for the most part, but hydros, I guess. I'm just guessing. I didn't know what an opiate was. All I knew was there was a thing called heroin. I didn't even know, and I knew there was a thing called opium. I didn't even know what opiate meant. I took one dose, hated it, and said, fuck it, I'll just ride out the pain. I'm not doing any more of this. Yeah, life strategies, indeed. Life strategies. That's right, Gary. Well, and part of my interactions is I know that astute people are observing my patterns, right? And what many of the folks in these streets share in common is many of us are super good at pattern recognition, and even highly suspect is that he's for whatever reason, he's no longer in touch with that so much. Dude is, I understand that folks are like, what are you talking about? To some extent, dude does have a high IQ. He's just, now maybe he's done some things to his brain through substance abuse. I don't know, maybe it's there, and it will come back with the right nutrition. See, I have no idea what nutrition he's putting in his body. Again, advice he hasn't asked me for is aggression. I don't get to say, hey, Keith, here's what you might, I don't get to just dictate to him based on my knowing of what he can put in his body that will benefit him. And meanwhile, when I take all these supplements, I know that half of the effect is, hang on, somebody's pulling in. Oh, they're just going to the bank. Never mind. I don't know what they're doing. But half of the effect is that I believe they're going to work very strongly, meaning the so-called what do they call that? One moment, please. The so-called placebo effect. Yeah, probably just on their phone. Somebody pulled up out there, just trying to figure out what you're doing. Probably just pulled over and fucking with their phone. You never know about these things. What's up, Woody? Good to see you, man. Lads and lasses, indeed, as it may be. And this is the humans, man. They're just strongly attracted to creative force, right? And the human spirit. And it's so lacking in society now. Although this is probably just a drunk person on looking on their phone or something. Although they might come this way, you never can tell about these things. But yeah, I think they're probably headed for the bank. It's not always about me, right? Got to keep an eye on them, though. You just never know. Yeah, correct philosophy is the absence of incorrect philosophy. Exactly. So it doesn't seem to me like Russ has ever examined what in the hell's going on in his internal. And I'm saying he's never been introspective. I'm saying I'm not sure he's gone into himself with the intention of detecting all of the incorrect philosophies. So certainly one of the incorrect philosophies is the idea that truth can be wielded as a possession. No, it cannot, because that can never be truth. Because if it can be wielded as a possession, it must be grasped first. And that now very quickly becomes a dead thing. And truth is living and manifesting, can never be a dead thing. It's impossible. And by the way, that's why written scripture is a dead thing, whether these folks want to admit it or not. Some of the religious folks want to admit it. That's its nature. Right? We can say living word of God. That doesn't mean the written Bible. It can never mean written Bible. It's literally impossible. Can't happen. So one of the things I can help people with is I'm so pedantic and I can focus in and I can just always force the conversation back to that fundamental level. Okay, well, I understand. So I verbalize the fundamental thing, then people loop off, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, but we're going back to the fundamental thing. And I always have the right to do that. Now they can just reject it. Wow, 36 in the house over there now. Bex is kicking ass. You love to see it. This is fantastic. Cool, man. And like I said, I'm just vlogging here, effectively vlogging. So, hell, I'd be over there if I didn't have this thing scheduled. So, and some people do watch these on the replay, believe it or not. I'm more or less doing this for the 11 folks in the house. Appreciate y'all, and then whoever's here on the replay. Acknowledge logic was there first. Thank you. That's important, Woody. In a similar way, people will opine. And you know what's funny? And I have this bad habit of getting inspired by Woody's comments and then not finishing to read them. But at a certain point, I just typed in, "That's your opinion, Russ."
That's your opinion. Like what, you know, it's bad when he can't tell the difference between asserting something that's real and his fucking opinion. That's not a good sign. But in a similar way, people will opine on what others should do. And you know what else? You know what else Benton typed into the chat, Woody? How could you possibly know what I should do? Do you have any experience being me? Again, going to the foundational logical level, because he's attempting to build something up based on a false premise. Okay, Russ, let me take your premise and run with it. How can you know what I should do if you've never been me? Again, something the fucking hippies taught me. They helped me correct myself, because when I would say, hey, you should do this, they would in a loving way say, well, I could do that, right? And then they would even just leave it hanging in the air. And I eventually figured out, oh, I don't have any way of knowing what they should do because I ain't them. And I've never lived as them. But they could do this. So after that, if I wanted to make a suggestion, I would say, hey, you could do this, right? Say it as if they have an option, not as if this is a thing that they're too dumb to realize, right? It's almost like a demeaning in a way. If I say you should, it's actually I'm actually looking down on them, whether I know it or not. But if asked what consciousness is, they would have no answer. Well, I would say awareness. They have not done the basics. Exactly. And if Russ can't go on solo and break this shit down, I'm just going to assume he can't. And, the stuff I can break down, and a lot of folks responded favorably to yesterday's walk and talk, that comes from repeatedly accessing the fundamental level. Almost obsessively, just going back to the fundamental, back to the fundamental, back to the fundamental. Well, thanks, Rez. Appreciate that. I think we hit about 1:30 yesterday, just so you know. But did you see the replay, Rez? Because that was me providing value, and it had nothing to do with my illness. But shout out to 4chan, who may be in the house. Always good to see 4chan if that's what this is. So. And thank you for your comments, sir. Thank you. I feel like I've covered and resolved all of that. So those who know already know. Anybody that's going to be swayed, well, I'll just say this, Rez. Anybody who will be swayed by your comment here, I would categorize those people as belonging to the so-called peanut gallery. And I've often referenced the fickle feelings of the peanut gallery, and I myself don't honor or respect the fickle feelings of the peanut gallery. And I also don't honor or respect people who appeal to the fickle feelings of the peanut gallery, because guess what? I can also sway the fickle feelings. I can sway the peanut gallery based on an appeal to their fickle feeling, right? Did you see what I did there? How about you? The penis. Oh, I see what you did there. Nice. Well played, sir. Well played. I like that. Well, I know that. Yeah, but thank you, Gary. Nobody's swayed. But we do get into an element of never wrestle a pig. You both get muddy, and the pig likes it. Like, I feel like me and Rez are kind of on a similar level. Withdrawals from what, sir? I haven't been on any substances in well over a year. I was on the THCO for about he knows. But see, Rez, he knows I can't resist this on some level. So I don't want to have to mute you, Rez, but I'm trying to do a thing here. Could you please respect it? Or I guess I could just not read the chat for a minute, right? I always have that option. Just don't read the chat for a minute. So here's, if anybody wants to know Russ's blunder, and I'd like to get Woody's input on this. And this comes back to me talking about, over a year ago now, I was talking to Drew about how I have boomer takes for days. And some of this comes from learning, from subjecting myself to establishing a healthy relationship with my father. And part of that was I had to figure out his fucking boomer logic. So I have these boomer takes, right? So Russ, and I've talked about this recently, Russ mistakenly believes that if he respects a person or an idea, that somehow carries weight. That's a blunder, because it doesn't mean anything. Now, if Russ establishes himself as having a certain standing within a community or group, then who and what he respects does carry weight and does represent something.
But up until he establishes that standing, who and what he respects doesn't mean anything. But he began to speak as if what he respects or doesn't respect has any validity whatsoever. No, it doesn't, sir. Again, a failure of his own logic due to his fundamental, because of him never establishing a fundamental strong foundation, a strong foundation in his thought and in his logic. So now whatever he constructs upon that erroneous foundation, I can just come through and just knock it down. I can just, it's a house of cards. I can just come along and go, well, that's not here anymore. Hey, that edifice you just constructed on a bullshit foundation, well, that's not here anymore. So what now, partner? Because that we swept that aside. Like, what do we do now? See, and then as we see, he left because now he has nowhere to go. Because all I said once I got the floor was, what does it matter who you respect? Who is you? Because he made a blunder. And I just said, hey, there's the blunder. You blundered, sir. That's the blunder over there. You ain't, and I, you know, in my mind, I'm like, well, you ain't Bobby Fischer. You ain't smart enough to blunder on purpose. Right. So we know that Rez is not Combs. Rez is probably most likely somebody from 4chan, although who knows, it's hard to say at this point. Could be many folks. I'm almost certain that's not Rez. I recognize that chat style. He doesn't have that chat style. That's a on the spectrum chat style, which I enjoy the folks who are on the spectrum. I am one of them, certainly. So, that's part of the reason I'm not able to resist Mr. Back. Unfortunately, Russ most likely does not have a background in studying, reading books, and sitting at a desk and just, you know, with a notebook and a pen and materials, reference materials. Russ has probably never done that. Let's just call it what it is. Now, I could be wrong. I bet you $100 that Russ does not have a strong background. And by the way, he's probably one of these folks who actually is somewhat allergic to anything he would associate with book learning. Because let's not forget that in the South, especially, many folks, especially males, their peer groups look down their nose on anything associated with school, study, you know, being a nerd. Benton never gave a flying fuck what anybody thought about the fact that Benton carried a book around with him almost everywhere he went. Benton took notes. Benton sat at the front of the class, and, you know, if I needed to take notes, I was sat there taking notes, right? Never cared how people saw it, right? Never cared. It depended on the subject. If it was something I could just skim the fucking chapter of the textbook and make 100 on all the tests or quizzes, I was probably seated in the back, although alphabetically in elementary school, I was always near the front. But Russ most likely is allergic to anything approaching, you know, being seen as studious, right? Most likely. Most of these folks on the spectrum are the exact opposite. Like, they go right to book learning. Okay. And I can detect it in the way they write and in their comments. I notice it immediately, and I'm very attracted to it. So it's hard for me not to go right in on Rez's comments, because I do appreciate his comments. Not a big fan of the cancer grift angle, but I myself created that to some extent. So, you know, do I have the luxury of just dismissing that? No, I don't think I do. But yeah, assuming that the value of an idea is tied to, thank you. It's a. By the way, this is what I told Russ. I can teach you logic, but it's going to cost you. Now, I don't mean money, but I kind of do mean money. It will cost him, meaning I will talk to him and I will have interactions with him, but I'll just do to him what I do to highly suspect sometimes. Every time he makes a misstep, I'll just slam him on his head. I'll just grab him and flip him on his head. And then he'll get up and he'll do it again, and I'll just flip him on his head with logic. And he'll get up and do it again, and I'll fucking flip him on his head. And that's what it will cost him, is getting fucking thrown, getting tossed about the dojo metaphorically by Morpheus. I'll just be doing this. You know, at a certain point, I'll just be like yawning and fucking looking at my fingernails, and I'll just be bashing him and fucking hitting him with the fucking whatever objects are in the room. And I'll do it like I fucking breathe, right? Until he develops a foundation in logic and reason, I can just always fucking easily toss him about, no fucking problem. Well, that's good. The spectrum is essentially a rainbow. There you go. Well, see, I will resist what you're doing there. Although I do want to respond to that. I must say, we can go on Zillow and we can look at pictures of the house I grew up in if you want. But yeah, well said, Woody. Well said. Similar to credentialism or appeal to authority. That's the boomer take for days is boomer appeal to authority. And by the way, why do they do this, Woody? I know you know, or well, I can't speak for Woody. They do it. I got to write this down. Appeal to authority. They do it because this is what they were programmed to do. Because why? Because the boomer grew up with people on television like Walter Cronkite, the trusted voice of the nation. So part of some of these folks being allergic to book learning is, well, there's no reason to go do book learning because we're blue collar. We're going to the Votech or whatever. And yes, we will fucking sit at the desk and learn just enough to be an electrician and to get certified, right? Or a plumber or whatever. See what I'm saying? And Russ did not go to university. Now, maybe he went to a community, and maybe I'm dead fucking wrong. And if I am, I will come on here and be like, wow, I had no fucking idea. But meanwhile, I'm from his culture. I'm not saying he didn't go to university based on his presentment. I'm not saying it based on his accent. I'm saying it based on observing his patterns. This man did not go to a university, right? Now, I was dumb enough to go to a university for 4 years and not get a degree. That says a lot about Benton. But I went to university for 4 motherfucking years, okay? And I fit right in to some extent. Whatever. I took sociology lecture, sat at the front and had back and forth with the sociology professor. And I was damn near the only one. And yes, I looked very foolish because why? I hadn't fully interrogated my ideas yet. And I hadn't developed that firm foundation in logic. But much like Russ, I did have enough of I was interested in the topic, number one, and I had enough observations and I had enough to have the back and forth. But eventually the professor did what? Slam me on my motherfucking head in front of everybody, and then my face would flush red. But I needed that. And of course I made an A in the sociology lecture. How could I not? Because I like sociology. So I wanted to read the sociology book. But yeah, we have Walter Cronkite. So people's like Russ don't need to go read a bunch of books. Walter Cronkite, we've been led to believe Walter Cronkite read the books. See, the president, Teddy Roosevelt or whoever, a book reading nerd. But also, the story of Teddy Roosevelt is that he was this strong fucking presence who, was sickly as a child and just fucking asserted himself anyway, right? And just fucking through this indomitable spirit, more or less, imposed himself into whatever he went into, which again, official fiction, probably never happened, right? Probably never happened. There you go. Michael Stephen failed English 101 twice. Excuse me. And I will win Rez over eventually. I will win him over, or her, but I'm assuming this is a fella. They wouldn't let you take English 100. Nice. I see what you did there. Where'd my microphone go, by the way? Oh, there it is. Never mind. Want to make sure you folks can hear me, but I've noticed this mic's my powerful voice, even with the StreamYard settings, it's come through too strong. And now I'm at a point in the streaming where it's like I realized that I went and did my shopping the other day and I needed to buy more vegetables. And now it's like, well, shit. Now I need to go shopping again. And the place I've been getting my veggies isn't open tomorrow. I'm probably not going there today, although I might try to sneak in after I wrap up. So yeah, let me see how late the market's open. Hold on. Maps. Oh, and just when I think I'm out, they suck me right in. Now I've sent off for a fucking Cash App debit card. which, okay. Well, I mean, thanks for the donos. And I am sending some of that to my Nana, my mama. I don't call her Nana, but my mom. All right. Hold on. Find out what place closes today. 3 p.m. Although they will close at 3 on the dot, and it's a place that if nobody's there, they might close at 2:45. I worked at a computer store where the people who owned it were like old school, like Pentecostal types. That all the women had no makeup, long hair pulled back, and denim skirts. And we closed at noon on Saturday. And if somebody rolled up at 11:59, nope, we's leaving, partner. See you Monday. No mercy. And the person's like, but, not interested. We'll see you Monday. I loved it. I love that. A part of me loves that. Right. But I was just going to buy a computer. See you Monday. You mean my money's no good here? That's right. We're on family time. We're going to church tomorrow, or they were, and see you Monday. I don't even know what he's referred to, but I'm getting a kick out of that. Well, but again, the fact that I was born most likely, with a propensity to be attracted to book learning. That's just how I was born. The thing is, I just never cared what anybody else thought about it. But here's what's interesting about not caring what people think. People detect that and just leave me alone. Nobody's like, hey man, what you reading for? Like, I would have been like, what are you talking about? Like, and I would have started making fun of them. So I was just, nobody ever bothered me about the fact that I loved to go to the library, and never saw any of my friends or classmates there unless they had to do a project, because this was before the internet. And, the library was where the reference materials were. Meanwhile, my mama took me and my sisters probably at least once a week to the public library, the central library, probably, I don't know, 7-8 mile drive, at least once a week. We had a pretty badass library in my hometown at the time for Arkansas standards. It was a really fucking good library. Yeah, I figured that maybe your English wasn't your first language, Michael. Not true, Rez. You just listen to a 99 ASVAB guy. I don't know if you know that, Rez. You don't want to take you can take the Pepsi challenge with my IQ, which is let me break it down for you, Rez, because we are on my favorite subject, which is me. And this is my vlog, Rez. So thank you for contributing to my vlog. I do appreciate it. I may be the only person in human history with a higher ASVAB score than my actual IQ. I could very well have a 99 ASVAB with a 98 IQ. That is not an exaggeration. So, yeah, you're listening to a 99 ASVAB guy. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm a library person. Good to see you, Angela. You will never get wrenched here. I just want to put that out there. The fact that you asked to be wrenched, you will never be a moderator here. Just so if you're here, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear, please give me a wrench. I don't want to hear that people are muting you. Don't want to hear it. My mods do a great fucking job. They don't moderate people for no fucking reason. I trust my mods. If you got a problem with my mods, hit the road, Jack. This ain't the place for you. And you will never be moderate. You will never receive a wrench here, solely based on having asked for it, and solely based on me seeing that you asked for it everywhere you go. You're welcome here. Got no issue with you. You're never going to be a moderator. And I mean ever. On this channel. It ain't never going to happen. Well, I'm glad you think it's fine. Well, if they time you out and you choose not to come back, that's your choice. Because I'll tell you this, Angela, I respect it. Because I went to Jack Talcott's channel. They timed me out. Well, they muted me. I've never been back. I probably won't. You know why? Because everywhere I go, I am an asset to the broadcast. If you got me in your live chat, it's only ever a good thing. So I respect that you probably view it the same way, Angela. And I got no beef with you. If you like it, I love it. How about that? If you like it, I love it. Because probably you are a person. Well, see, maybe that happened, but it didn't happen here. Right? See, it did not happen here. Now you're entitled to your view of what happened, but I'm telling you, it did not happen here because I went and checked. It didn't happen. So don't know what to tell you at that level. We don't run that. We run a pretty tight ship around here. We don't do that. Now, if somebody saw you repeatedly asking for a wrench and timed you out, well, that's a different thing. It wasn't you came in, said hi, and I don't believe you. Like, that's, people don't show up here, say hi, and get timed out. You know why? Because I don't attract to me the type of people who will do that. And every time I've went and checked on my mods because somebody took umbrage with them, my mods have never done anything wrong. Now, I've seen Rob time out Yeti Life, and I suspected it may have had something to do with a personal beef, but Rob is smart enough not to do it inappropriately. So maybe that was Rob's motivation. I have no idea, but he wasn't wrong in what he did, if that makes sense. No, they don't hear, though, Angela. They don't hear. See, you're making it about a thing. So I'm going to go ahead and say this. I'm going to time you out. So we're not going to have you back on the channel because you're never going to, you're dug in, and I'm not interested. I'm not. And as much as I say whose house, my house, our house, this, you know, I'm the, what do they call this? I'm the superintendent. So bye. We'll see you never. So she gone. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. See, that's how that's done, folks. I mean, that's how that's done. We let them determine how they're going to engage or not engage. It's their choice. And she said, if they time me out, I won't be here. But then continued to loop on, well, yes, they did. Okay, well, this ain't the place for you. So we'll see you never. Although that person may choose to, make an altar and come back. And that's not true at all, sir. What you may not know about Benton is that I was a pretty fucking good athlete back in those days. I have an ancestor that I look a lot alike who shares my name, or I share his name, who it was national news when he passed away in 2001. See, and you can press all you want. And this is bet and erase, by the way. And this is one thing, like when I say these people who they raise all bets, well, the reality is that can be done in a certain type of way that I will respect and engage with. But yeah, just so you know, old Benton was a halfway decent athlete. So my peers tended to view me as a very strong person who was a competitor and would take if pretty much any student that wasn't a really good basketball player, like on the team, wanted to come onto the playground with me, I was going to show them that they weren't very good at basketball. So that's what my classmates knew of me mostly. Yeah, I was also in the band, by the way, and I was also popular with the ladies. So that's something else they knew of me. Popular, and by the way, my family was very well known in the community. So to be a Benton in my hometown, like it carried a lot of weight. Because when I was in school, my famous relative was still alive, and everybody in the town knew of my famous relative. He's one of the most famous people that's ever come out of my hometown. So that's what was known of me, Rez. See, you don't understand. You don't know who you're dealing with here. There's a reason why I'm 5'10" and I can palm a basketball and got size 12 shoes, right? And could dunk on motherfuckers, right? I never could dunk a 10-foot, but I was 5'8" back then, and I could dunk like if the goal was 2 inches below 10 foot, I could literally fucking dunk. So think about that. Yeah, think about that, partner. Not so much in the game, but I could on a breakaway. I just couldn't really necessarily dunk on a person. I could have dunked on you, Rez, most likely. Most likely could have literally dunked on your ass on about a 9.5-foot goal. I could have shook you and dunked on your ass. In the physical, not metaphorically, right? Although maybe metaphorically also, but I definitely could have fucking shaked and baked and dunked on your bitch ass, partner. 5'8", 130. Think about it. That's who you listening to. That's who you listening to, partner. It was Benton and 7 blacks running up and down the court because we played 4-on-4 short court. It was Benton and 7 brothers running up and down the court all day. And it was winner keeps court, and me and the guys I played with would keep the fucking court all day on a Saturday with 40 brothers waiting to play. That's who you listening to, partner. Yes, Benton does got it like that. Benton does got it like that, just so you know. Don't get it twisted. And Benton went up against the 6'5" trees and made layups, partner. Slashed to the hole, fucking took it right to a 6'5" brother's grill and laid the ball off the glass repeatedly until all they could do was hard foul Benton and put him on his ass. I got a head injury playing basketball because I could slash to the hole. And them 6'5" brothers, they don't like it when a 5'8", 130-pound white boy can make layups on them. They don't like it. No, never happened. Never happened. Benton has made the game-winning layup at the Hyper at the University of Arkansas the year that Arkansas won the national championship in basketball with literal D1 athletes, including an Olympic sprinter named Brandon Rock and another Olympian named Godfrey Sayamuse in the game. Benton made the game-winning layup. Think about that. So I never had a problem hanging with the D1 athletes, the D1 scholarship athletes, sir. You don't know who you're listening to. You don't know who you're listening to. But just because I like it and the audience will indulge me, because I know they will, I'm going to show, although, see, he'll just press me based on this. Because the thing is, Rez is on the verge of getting muted because if he can't respect at the level of intellectual integrity who in the fuck what I am that I can demonstrate, as soon as I can demonstrate who and what I am, now I already know that he's going to say, well, you didn't do those things. Well, yeah, I kind of did those things because, you know, genetically, I am the genes of the one that did this. Meanwhile, sports are fake, so it probably doesn't mean anything. But this is who the fuck I am, sir. If you can read this, this is who I am. My grandfather has a Wikipedia page for football. I don't know, this may not be focusing, but I will drop the link just for shits and giggles if anybody wants to check it out. But yeah, again, sports is fake. My famous relative has the fucking 33 code all over his sports statistics. In fact, his famous record was my grandfather had the NFL record for receiving yards in a game, 10 catches, 303 yards, stood for 40 years. That's who you talking to, partner. Hang on, let me go to the live chat here. There you go. If anybody wants to read about my famous relative. And again, it was on Sports Center when he died. It was AP news all across the country when he died. It was in every fucking newspaper in the country when he passed for sports. So if you find it hard to believe that I'm good at, wait a minute, I think I might have dropped the wrong link. Fuck. Oh, well, you guys will figure it out. Y'all are smart enough. Bizarre. Just go to Wiki and type in Jim Benton football. I know you've heard of Bear Bryant. I know you've heard of Bear Bryant. My grandfather was one of his contemporaries. That helps you any. World famous. World famous. At the time. But yeah, Benton's play sports and Benton's win championships. That's what Benton's do. Also, at a certain point, my the only two brothers in the history of Arkansas high school football, the only two brothers to quarterback teams to state titles were my two of my cousins. Yeah, he wants a refund. Yeah, I'll give you. Yeah, I'll refund your donos, man. I'll go ahead. I'm doing that now. Let me refund Rez's donos. But anyway, it's good having you around, brother. But if you're going to continue to press, no, I didn't ruin the family name. That's not the thing that can happen, sir. So we're going to bid you adieu. It's been real. Thanks for being here, but you gone. So bye. See you next time. See you when you come back with a sock. Now, here's what's interesting is how quickly does this person come back with a sock? Yeah. But your bad faith, sir. Your bad faith. And we don't need bad faith around here. What's up, Ms. Blanche? Good to see you. You know, Miss Blanche is from my hometown, Rez, and she may know of my family potentially. You know, I might have exaggerated when I said everybody in the town would have known my family, but I mean, it's a high likelihood she does, but she might say no. I don't, no idea. I don't remember many of the folks that I grew up with. I have people that when I, you know, say I'm from Pine Bluff, they say, "Oh, my such and such is from there." I just cut them off and say, "I just want you to know, I'm not going to know who these people are." I'm, probably because to protect myself, I repressed much of my upbringing. But Rez, the reason why people donate is not because I'm ill. It's because I bring the content, sir. Hashtag content machine. I bring the content. Bring the content. I'm content to deliver the content. Sometimes I just like to play the drums. You know anything about syncopation, Rez? Oh, cool, Timmy. Yeah, man. Later on would be cool. Because I expended a lot of energy yesterday on the broadcast, so I'm pacing myself because I'm sure I'm in for another long one today. But yeah, it'd be dope, man. Absolutely. I'll clear the decks anytime you want to come in. Well, I'll wrap up and clear the decks, I should say. There you go, Roy. Yeah, jam out. Well, if I had a drum set, certainly. Yeah, certainly. Certainly. Cool, man. Thanks. Yeah, and if my parents weren't complete fucking morons, I would have just went to the historically black college in my hometown and played fucking walked on the basketball team and fucking got a degree. I mean, realistically. But for some insane reason, I listened to my parents who considered that to be a ridiculous idea. Meanwhile, it would have been free because that's right. White folks get free tuition in my hometown at the historically black college, or they did back then. That's not. I'm not even kidding. In fact, one of my aunts went back to school there for free. Now you can say, "Oh, that's just a worthless degree." Well, I mean, they're all kind of worthless, right? Although, yeah, if somebody has an Ivy League degree, maybe that means something. But you know, it's a four-year university. University of Arkansas Pine Bluff Golden Lions. Yeah, I didn't get to see the yurt stuff, unfortunately. I think just my opinion, I think you'd be better off going just not read the chat and just cook. That's my opinion. And I think he could clean up what he does with the screen shares and everything. But other than that, he does a great job, I think. I'm a big fan. And those are just, critiques. It's not, he's doing fine. He doesn't need my help. And, if he went live every day, he'd have as many or more viewers as I do, I think. So I am happy that Bex is doing her thing. I do enjoy the vlogging aspects of this. And I'm more and more, I'm viewing these as my vlog. Right. And well, of course, the longer streams have elements of that as well, obviously. But 16 in the house with 9 thumbs up, I'm pretty happy with that. What else? I was hoping O'Shea would hit the panel, but he's a bit of an enigma these days. Mr. O'Shea, excuse me. The sweet potatoes, man, they're making my poop smell like my poop smells like sweet potatoes. And I heard something that the Indians, the Hindus say, don't eat the food. After 2 hours of cooking the food, don't eat it. I'm getting a lot of gas now, because I'm preparing my meals so far ahead of time. I might just start eating all the food in one meal, maybe, if my friggin' intestines can tolerate it. That would probably have to be later in the day, though. And I don't like eating I don't like to eat within like 3 or 4 hours of bedtime either. I don't know. Thank you. That's my grandfather, just for the record, Miss Blanche. My grandfather, my dad's dad. And I look a lot like my dad, and my relatives all say that I look the most like my of the grandkids, I'm the one that looks the most like my famous relatives, whatever that means. And meanwhile, I'm, tapped into because my grandfather was tapped into some spiritual shit for sure. Like 100%. Yeah, definitely. It's funny though, man. Scary fucking dude, man. My dad's scary too, but his dad, fuck. Because I remember I was my dad's famous. His dad was like older, so my dad had 8 twin brothers that were 18 years older than him. So my dad kind of came along later, was, I guess, unexpected baby or whatever. So my grandparents were fucking old, So I remember being at their house, and I was a super picky eater, and they served me like mashed potatoes, and I just don't eat mashed potatoes, or I didn't at the time. And I was trying to explain that I wasn't gonna eat the mashed potatoes. And he's basically like, "You're gonna eat those mashed potatoes," and I eat the fucking mashed potato. Like, dude is fucking scary, man. Scary dude. Not in a deviant or criminal way, just fucking intimidating, scary dude. And I was a little kid, of course. I am a Benton. I'm also a Benton, though, lest we forget. I did manage to stand up to my gigantic, scary father right about the age of 15 and impose my will on that motherfucker. Oh, you think you're going to run me? You think you're going to run me, partner? I don't know about all that. I don't know if that's going to happen. You're going to have to kill me, Jack. And I didn't say it. I fucking impressed it upon him. You're going to have to kill me, Jack. And he could have. My dad, I've said this before, my dad could have just wrapped me up with one hand and just fucking tossed me. Like, he's a fucking monster. Just a monster. Looked like the Thing from the Fantastic Four. Oh, fuck, dude. Hell on wheels. There you go. There you go. But what was I to do? I had more mental strength than my dad when I was 15. It's like, okay, good luck, buddy. You're trying to impose your will on me. Well, I'm just going to impose my will on you, and we'll show you how this goes. Right? We'll just show you how this goes, partner. And I say partner because my dad says partner. We'll just show you how this goes, partner. Oh, you're going to impose your will on me? Well, I've been letting you do that. So now I guess I'm just going to fight fire with fire, and I'm going to impose my will on you, partner. How you like them apples? And thankfully, he wasn't willing to just beat his son into a bloody fucking pulp, which is what it would have taken. So there's that, right? To his credit, some fathers are willing to beat their sons into a bloody fucking pulp. I like the discussions. I'm kind of lost in what y'all are saying. Good stuff, chat. Good stuff. Good stuff. Where's Bex? I like watching Bex's numbers. I'm gonna see how she's doing. 28. Well, I think I might have grabbed a few. We went up a little bit. And is that Joe Cool? Wait a minute. I might know why the numbers are down. No, it's flow state. Never mind. Huh. That's hard to call it.
This house. So this lady went in the house looking for one, and the refrigerator talked. She actually told me this refrigerator talked to me and said, I wrote it down.
Oh, I know what happened. The drama
It
ended.
says,
The drama ended.
the next time you see one, and she knew one because she went there and he wasn't there.
I don't, honestly, I don't have too much today. I'll just go ahead and put that out there. Why is this bullshit showing up in my feed? What have I done wrong? I've clearly sinned. Look at this. This is the number. I know I didn't subscribe to this bullshit. I hope not. What the fuck is this? And I know this camera doesn't want to focus, but please don't let me be subscribed to this. What the fuck is this? Nope. Well, we're gonna go ahead and do not recommend channel because this is not good. Oh, that showed up on Bex's. I see. That was the first video on. That's what YouTube algorithm is recommending on her video. Okay, that makes more sense. Let's say there's no fucking way this is because of me. Impossible.
Hey, you know who it is? You know what it is. Your boy Sammy D. Still a nigga. I wake up every morning, I put on my fancy clothes, I put on my freshest hat, I put on my nicest wares. Okay? At the end of the day, I still get my clothes from a motherfucking bin. Still a nigga. I drive these fancy cars, Cadillacs, Mercedes-Benz, funky out Benz, the big body Benz, right? Still a nigga. I drive fancy cars, but I'm still a nigga. Still the nigga.
Mr. Hyde.
I may wear fancy diamond jewels, but I'm still a nigga. Fuck you. Now, see, I might be going to a job interview. And I might have to say yes, sir, and button up my short. But let me tell you this. Let me put it to you like this. If they be treating me at that job like a nigga, I'll be doing some niggerish shit. I may have to button up my short to go to a job interview. But I'm still a nigga. I'm gonna act like a nigga. Roy, best believe
What's
I'm
up,
still a
Heidi?
nigga. I was walking down the street the other day, wearing my Perry Ellis, my Stacey Adams. I was wearing my freshest gear. Dude comes up to me, stops me in the mall when I'm with my girl. He says, nigga, you must be paid. Can a nigga get some of that money? Best believe a nigga better not ask me for my money. I said to him, look here, nigga. I may be wearing this Perry Ellis. I may be wearing this Ben Jacobs. I may be wearing the Tom Sachs Mars Rover backpack right now. But nigga, you better not step me in the wall.
Look. Oh shit, I almost missed it. Love it. All right, we back. Yeah. Sammy D. Oh, I think so, Woody. He bought something else recently. Trying to remember what else he bought. Some kind of here comes the policy enforcement. You know, I fucked up though. Hold on, we're gonna have to turn this around. Let's see. Camera. Yeah. facing back. He might just be checking that car out over there, I'm guessing. We'll get ready just in case he wants to come have a chat with us. Where's he at? Where's he at? All right. Hey, what's up? How are you? Doing great, man. Have a good day. Yeah. And that, folks, is how it should be. That's how it's supposed to go. One of the reasons I like this this town. That's how it's supposed to go. And there's that car's been parked over there for a couple of days now. He's checking that car out too. The car over there's been just been sitting there. Eventually get towed out of here, most likely. But yeah, yeah, he bought some other car recently. And I don't know if you know about Sam. They're doing that Mondo Megabits, his NFT series. They're doing the round 2 of that, and they're about to roll out World Peace 2, and they're about to do Fish Tank 2. So, yeah, Sammy's doing good for himself. Where are you at? Where are you going? That's what I get when I pick up the phone. You talking about from the policy enforcement? Who asked you that? See, I'm lost. Just fucking lost in the sauce now. Oh. I fucked up the body cam. I thought I had the fresh battery in the body cam. The battery that's in here is dead. I think I need new batteries because shit was in the hot car for a while. I think the batteries got too hot. At least one of them. Yeah, I think that's what it was. But I think I left I left one of the batteries in the car for like a month when it was hot as fuck. So yeah, I need at least one new battery. Oh, Q-tip. Nice. You know, I'm a fan. But what we found recently is something's happened to my cognition. I used to be able to rap and like be pretty precise, and fuck, I've been trying to rap lately and I can't. I've lost my precision in my diction. But I listened to Low End Theory the year it came out, just on fucking repeat. I was an early adopter of rap and hip hop, so that was like 90 or 91, I want to say. That's one of my favorite albums of all time, the Low End Theory. I like Midnight Marauders, but to me, Low End Theory is the best thing they ever did. What year was that? 90, came out in 91. Yeah. Great year for music, by the way, 91, if anybody's aware. Great fucking year for music. What a blessing, right? Shout out to Fife Dog. Oh, may peace be upon him. And part of the reason why I can't ever completely throw what's his name to the wolves, Michael Rappaport, that bozo, he made an excellent documentary about A Tribe Called Quest. Like, all right, yeah, he's a bozo, but there's something there if he actually made that, right? Oh, really? That's interesting. You may know that I'm not a huge fan of the auditors. In fact, I was this DMA character. I watched him for a while, this Denver Metro Audits, and then I was like, this guy's a fucking bozo. And then now I don't know what he did, but he's, they're going to make him serve time in jail. Yeah, I've heard Delete Laws is kind of wild. I don't watch a lot of those, and I actually watch Frauditor Troll. That's actually how me and Sly Shy had our famous back and forth. Was because I was she basically more or less that started because she was incensed that I was referencing Frauditor Troll, and I was like, I'll watch whatever I want. And I said, I said, half these people are fucking bozos. Like, some of them are really good. I like that Press NH Now. I like that guy. That's who I like to watch. Drew put me on to him. He's got something wrong with him too. But a lot of these auditors, there's just something wrong with them. You can tell they got some kind of, there's a disturbance in the fucking force somewhere, right? But meanwhile, I have sometimes I have a disturbance in the force. We all, even when that guy rolled up all friendly, I still had a certain fucking visceral reaction to policy enforcement cruising through. Is it? I don't know what this is. Best defense is a good offense. Jessica Jane dropped a vid. And then this dude is losing his fucking mind. You seen this guy? He's on like 136 days of watermelons or something.
2023. I've eaten nothing but water.
He's gonna go insane.
136 days. But you know what else I just realized?
That you're losing your fucking mind?
We're in the fall now. I'm in Cleveland, Ohio.
You're not gonna be able to get watermelon.
We're in the fall. That means summer is over.
That means
you know
no
what that
watermelon.
means? That means I've eaten nothing but watermelon for the entire summer of 2023. So if you follow me on TikTok, on Instagram,
How you
on
gonna
Facebook,
keep getting all this watermelon?
you can officially say I follow somebody that ate nothing but watermelon
Yeah,
for the
who cares?
entire summer
Who
of
cares?
2023. I started my journey on May 8th, 2023.
Who
You know what
cares?
my goal was? What I wanted to do was eat watermelon for one day. That was my goal when I started this.
I'm telling you, he's losing his fucking mind.
So when I got
Not even making
watermelon,
sense.
I also bought.
What do you mean
other
your goal
fruits.
was to eat watermelon
I
for
bought
one day? What are
strawberries
you
and
even talking
blueberries. I
about?
bought some apples, some other shit.
God damn,
I
dude.
really didn't think.
Yeah, he's losing his mind. Well, and he's pigeonholing himself, obviously. Nice, Gary. Yeah, when I see a crow, whenever a crow calls, I go, "What are you crowing about, crow?" I feel like they like it. Oh, Jesus.
What's wrong?
So, any idea where delete laws is going, Ms. Blanche? Where's he going? Fayetteville area, or just everywhere? Maybe I'll go cover him, not in a bad way. Like, I'm not a dickhead. Well, I am, but I know how to conduct myself properly.
Every second.
But here we have Frauditor
The
Troll.
frauditor is Johnny Bravo
So due to Charlie's death, the
Frauditor Troll.
and Mexican long
DMA
hair
gets roasted.
throw DMA under the
Exposed.
bus, roll over him multiple times. And I gotta agree.
And
Mexican long hair.
when Frauditor Troll covered DMA's, sorry about this, I'm just going to put it back on. I know this is making a lot of noise. Whenever Frauditor Troll covered DMA's sentencing, over 2,000 in the live. Over 2,000 folks in the live. It's fucking badass. Okay, let me know if you would. Although with my car, he'd have to come here, I guess, would be the only way. I'm not leaving town. Yeah, okay, Chili. That's what I thought. Yeah, Chili. He seems like a bit of a bozo, but I will say I enjoy various. Well, again, I'm sure I do as well, but I enjoy various aspects of his presentment. I'll have to say that. I will say that. I'm trying not to say things I don't mean. So, yeah. I haven't watched much of his content, but I've seen him here and there. Yeah, Chili. I don't know why I forgot that delete laws was Chili. The thing is, man, like, here's the thing with the auditors. Like, this town doesn't need somebody in their face, right? Now, if a particular officer can't handle somebody like Chili, to me, that's their fucking problem. But at the same time, what I've seen in this town, they're not writing chicken shit tickets. They're not looking for any fucking reason to pull everybody over. In fact, they had somebody pulled over at the motel, and because I have an instinct to observe the police, I started to wander over there, and then I was like, well, wait a minute. These cops here have never given me any reason to think that they're not conducting themselves properly. So I just minded my own business, because usually when I see the cops out and about hemming somebody up, I typically walk up, not close, but I walk up where eventually they'll start looking at me, and I'm like, hey, I'm
I just say I'm observing from a distance. I just want them to know I'm watching them, right? And then if they just go back to what they're doing and more or less pay me no mind, and I can tell that they seem to be doing what they're supposed to be doing, you know, and not violating people, I just leave. That's what I do. I'm not all in their face and shit. Now, if they start fucking with me, that's different. But you know, I did get arrested once for more or less just giving a lot of attitude to a cop, right? Yeah, probably Little Rock. They probably need it in Little Rock. I've had experiences in Little Rock that lead me to believe that he probably need chili on their ass. Pine Bluff probably don't need him. Pine Bluff's too busy fighting actual crime. They probably just laugh at him. Like, man, all right, man, we're going to get back to fucking chasing down these violent felons. We'll see you later. Oh, I'm getting a call. Oh, all right, man, I'm getting a call. Have a good day. You know. That's Pine Bluff. Yeah. All right, man. Whatever. They're not interested. No meat on that bone, right, Miss Blanche? Hey, you want to stand here in Pine Bluff and act a fool? Good luck. We'll see you later. Now, Whitehall, they'll probably lock his ass up if he goes to Whitehall. Or maybe just beat his ass, but probably not. Or just be confused, like, are you one of them auditors? I seen y'all on YouTube. Okay. But yeah, Little Rock probably needs him on their ass, but Little Rock PD, not terrible, but not a big fan. I'm not a big fan. Then you got North Little Rock. Jacksonville, hey, if you got any rapport with him, send his ass to Jacksonville. That's who needs. Jacksonville needs him. For real. Not even joking. Those motherfuckers, god dang. Yeah, send him to Jacksonville. Conway, in my experience, halfway decent. Again, for cops, right? If they were cool, they wouldn't be cops. I mean, let's call it what it is. Be like, oh, those are cool cops. No, they're not. They're cool for cops. If they were cool, they wouldn't be cops. Let's call it what it is. I don't just disagree with a lot of what the frauditors say. I actually reject them at the level of their own presentment and personality most of the time. Yep, Sherwood, there you go. Yep, same shit, exactly. Yep, Sherwood, Jacksonville, Maumelle. I've talked to Maumelle cops before, and I think they're a little overly curious because I was homeless, just like more or less walked through Maumelle, homeless I walked from Conway to Little Rock to go pick up my last check. I'll just put it to you that way. So walked through Maumelle, and I feel like they were a little overly curious as to what I was doing, but you know, I was still drinking at the time. So, you know, I went and got me a beer and sat behind some business and drank the beer, and they didn't bother me. But I felt like they were a little too curious about who I was and what the fuck I was doing. But other than that, they seemed all right, and kind of had that attitude of, well, we are going to allow you to do these things in our town, right? I don't appreciate that either. It's like, no, I'm here. I'm from Arkansas. If I want to walk through Maumelle with my backpack, that's my fucking business. What business of it is yours until I commit a crime, right? There you go. They pull everybody over. See, they don't do that in Fort Smith. They don't just pull everybody over, because the reality is they would have to impound half the vehicles in this town. There's poor working folks in this town. You got people on disability barely scraping by with the help of the food banks. You got a lot of working class poor here, and they can't pull everybody over. They're going to end up having to impound half the vehicles in the town. The town won't be able to operate, right? Like, that's a real thing, man. It's a real fucking thing. So I know in this town, if they got somebody pulled over, there's a pretty fucking good they probably have a reason, like an actual good reason, not just, oh, their shit's expired. It's going to be their shit's expired, and they're driving kind of strange, and they're in a part of town at the time of night when we think maybe they're up to some foolishness. Like, they're probably going to need like 3 indicators. They're not just like, oh, we're tired. Oh, fucking their taillights out. Cave Springs. Send them to Cave Springs. Some of the most chicken shit cops of all time is Cave Springs. Barely a town. I don't know if they still do that. Some of this is outdated. They just sit and wait for somebody to go by with no license plate light. Yeah. And pull them over and write them tickets. Every fucking time. That's all they do. That's all they used to do. They were notorious for that shit. Because believe me, nobody was speeding. I'll give you another one. Is there's a little town on the way to Harrison. that's so bad that a local put a gigantic billboard in their yard that says "speed trap 2 miles ahead." I have to remember. It's a tiny little town. They need somebody on their ass. There's a lot of them that need it, Miss Blanche. There's a lot of them. Probably not Pine Bluff. Probably not. Fayetteville definitely needs it. I can tell you that from firsthand experience. 100% need it. Bentonville probably does, although with Walmart up there, I wouldn't even. If it was me, I wouldn't even fucking bother. That, them cops are doing whatever the locals want them to do. What is this town? On the way to Harrison from Fayetteville, I believe. Alpena. Little bitty town of Alpena. Yeah. Population 374. Pulling people over, writing them tickets. That shit shouldn't even be legal. In fact, at a certain point, I believe Arkansas had to make, it might not be Arkansas, but some states, like if the town doesn't have enough of the highway in their city limits, they can't have a police force and pull people over and write tickets and shit. I missed you, Tribe. I missed your point there, Tribe. Oh, is Sly here? Good to see you, Sly. I missed you when you popped in. Dude, Oklahoma's the worst, man. I got pulled over in West Siloam Springs and written a ticket. I knew it was a speed trap. Was on my way to the airport. My dad had an Audi TT Roadster the first year they came out, and it was on a lease, so he was not going to be able to use up the miles. So I was like, and the tires wore out because it had high performance tires. I said, well, shit, man, I'll put a fucking set of tires on it and use up the rest of the miles. I was into performance cars at the time. It's pitch dark. I know it's a speed trap. I know I ain't speeding. Cop's got somebody pulled over with his lights on. I go by, he sees the car, pulls me over and writes me a ticket. Dude knew I wasn't speeding, wrote me a ticket anyway. Fucking horrible. Yeah, West Siloam, most of Oklahoma, actually, most of Oklahoma. And you know what happened, Talcott Collection? I had one of my best friends with me who was driving me to the airport in Tulsa. I was flying to Houston to pick up my 91 Eagles Howland that I found over the internet and was going to drive it back. This was right after September the 11th, by the way. We almost got hemmed up at the airport because I get air sick. So I brought me my little honey bear bong, and I was taking bong hits right before I got out of the car. And next thing I know, security's coming right at me. So I had to just jump out and fucking head off to security and just use my fucking soft skills to keep him away from the car. But dude gets pulled over on the way back for 3 over. Again, a nice car, pull it over. Yeah, fuck that. That's bullshit. But now he's freaking out because the cop is starting to search the vehicle because my friend has nothing to do with the car. So the cop is like, well, this car's registered to Larry Benton. Like, who in the fuck are you? And he's like, I've just dropped my friend off at the airport. He said I could drive the car home. Meanwhile, the car's got full coverage. I had permission to drive the vehicle. My friend had permission to drive the vehicle. He's fully fucking insured. He's got every right to drive the vehicle, even under this bullshit commercial nonsense. And so thank God they wrote me a ticket on the way out. The cop is searching the car, finds my ticket that has my name on it, that is the same last name as the registered owner, and says, oh, the cop laughs and say, well, hell, it looks like we already got you. Have a nice day, and let him go. Fucking crazy. And meanwhile, my friend is just like, oh my God, I'm going to jail. My buddy's car is getting impounded because that bong is in the fucking, what passes for a trunk on those cars is where the bong was. Where's the moon? That's a good question. I don't know. It's probably about time to start heading back to the clubhouse, but there's so many miscreants there's so many physical realm miscreants out and about right now that I'm not able to walk and talk on the way back, unfortunately. And where's the moon? That's right. Yeah, just Oklahoma, man. Fuck. Oklahoma City too. Now I will say this about Oklahoma City: tough but fair. Tough but fair. They are strict as fuck. Very strict. Very strict. And that place is a shithole. They need They need strict cops in Oklahoma City. Let's just call it what it is. That place is fucking trash on a whole nother level. I'd forgotten how much of a shithole Oklahoma City is. Good God. And now the surrounding areas are all right, but I'm talking about just the heart of fucking the city or whatever. Fuck, what a shithole. Bong in the car. Well, again, I was a blunt smoker. I guess I should just rolled a blunt, but yeah, it was a bad idea. But it was specifically because I get airsick. So I knew I need to chief up right before I get on the plane, or I'm going to, if you haven't thrown up on a plane, it's one of the worst things ever. I've done it multiple times. That shit sucks. Not a fan. And we got these little bitty fucking planes coming out of like Tulsa, or God forbid I try to fly out of XNA, Northwest Arkansas Regional Airport. Imagine it's the home, Northwest Arkansas, home to what was the world's largest corporation at a certain point, one of the world's largest meat producers, one of the biggest trucking companies, has all this stuff there and doesn't even have an international airport. In fact, the state doesn't have an international airport. That's Arkansas is podunk as fuck. Oh, nice, Blanche. Also, as any good person from Pine Bluff should be, right? You ever been to the Hut, Miss Blanche? You ever been to the Hut? And I know you don't live there anymore. I'm assuming you don't. Surely you had the good sense to get the fuck out of the Bluff. I'm thinking about moving there. All I need to do is hit a scratcher, which I know is very unlikely, and I'm not buying any, so it's effectively zero. Although, like I like to point out, I could find the winning ticket. That has happened before. People have found winning lottery tickets, like in the garbage. That's a real thing. I got into a big argument with somebody on the internet about how you can't win if you don't play. I'm like, well, actually, it's not exactly true. It happened in Arkansas, of all places. Believe it or not, somebody was had in the habit of taking the discarded tickets out of the trash at the gas stations and found over $1 million winner in the trash. Of what, Oklahoma City? I've mostly been there as a truck driver, but backpacking, I've passed through there quite a bit. And pretty much every time I went to the West Coast involved at least passing through Oklahoma City. 40. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, that's my family that owns and operates the Hut, just if that means anything. I'm not saying it does. That's my people's. My grandmother actually started that. Yeah, my grandmother is the one that started that business, and her son owns and operates it now. So I grew up spending some of the weekends with my grandmother in the back of the Hut. That gives you any idea. So on the one hand was taken to the Kingdom Hall, and at the other hand was, freely roaming about a business that sold things like bongs, fucking freebase pipes, sex toys. Yeah, interesting experience being Benton growing up. Now I tell you what, if I don't get along with that side of my family at all, really. I mean, my grandmother I do, but like her son, we agree to disagree much of the time, and he's a really good dude. My uncle's a really fucking good person with a lot of. He's kind of like me. He's actually like intellectual to an extent and reads books and shit, but we don't get along. There's not a lot of respect there necessarily. However, his son is just a fucking raging alcoholic. So his son was running this place for a while. Well, actually for years, my cousin Michael ran it, who's known as Woody. By the way, shout out to Dark Glasses Woody. I have a cousin that goes by Woody. Because he grew up as Little Mike, because his dad's Big Mike, and I guess eventually he got tired of that shit, so he somehow acquired the nickname Woody. But yeah, I would absolutely just live in the back of that thing and run it to some extent and fucking stream the rest of the time, but that's probably a no-go. So I'm pretty sure my cousin is not interested, and my uncle's getting old as fuck, so he ain't gonna be able to do it much longer. He's a workaholic though. He worked out at the JC's as the fucking groundskeeper. He probably still is. I heard he retired, but that dude don't know how to retire. Yeah, he was like groundskeeper at the JC's for fucking years. Like years and years. But I have like almost no connection to Pine Bluff anymore. The only relative I know that still lives there is one of my dad's brothers is a judge in Whitehall, Bill Benton. Yeah. Doxing myself, but I guess it doesn't matter. But I would absolutely. I found a $25,000 house that somebody had fixed up, and my dad's trying to ask me where it was. I was like, bro, you know, if it's in the city limits, does it really matter where it is? I was like, I don't know, but 25 grand. I'm just assuming it's about as bad as it could be, right? What to tell you? What up, Rob? Hey, Rob, if you like that Pixie song yesterday, the first one, the one you asked about, I got some other stuff I can turn you on to from that same time period. 91 was a good year. 90, 91, 92. Very, that was a lot of good shit came out back then. Yeah, there you go. I love that turquoise. Yeah, in the 70s. That's awesome. Yeah. Awesome, Miss Blanche. Yeah, it's a popular, that's a great cash business, obviously. Obviously. Yeah, there's a lot of foot traffic this morning, way more than normal. So it's getting to be that time of the month. Yeah. Oh, bummer. Oh, Gary likes the Pixies. Cool. Yeah, Benton. Yeah, stories about what Benton can do or did. Yeah. Yeah, right on, Rob. Well, I was blessed to, even though I'm from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, we had a pretty good record store. Actually, the mall had Camelot Music, which was good at the time, and then we had Record Rack, which was also it was a really good store at the time. Pine Bluff used to be a good town. I mean, it used to be, for Arkansas, it used to be a pretty decent town as far as like actually had some culture, believe it or not. Had a good library, you know, had lots of positives to it. Oh, well, thank you, sir. Yeah, that was part of that was my my dad is fairly musically inclined and had a pretty eclectic record collection that I would peruse when he wasn't around, and then which is a lot because he was a workaholic. He was coming home at some point that afternoon or evening. But dude was a workaholic. But hell yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, Miss Blanche would ride her bike to the hut on Saturday and spend her allowance. That's awesome. Yeah. When it was less sex toyish back then, I'm assuming that came later. I would guess. Yeah, Record Rack was the shit, and a Time Zone. That might be a little past your time because I was in 6th grade when Nintendo Entertainment System came out. So me and my best friend, who turned me on to a lot of the cool music, my best friend growing up, we were both big into video games. So we were like probably the best customers of Time Zone. I forget the fella's name that owned it, but we really had a good rapport with the guy that owned that place. Can't remember his name. Funny how I could picture him, but yeah, it was a great time back then. Like, I'm not one of these people who romanticizes the past, because I would never want to go back to that time, Miss Blanche, because the flip side of that is my family had money. My dad ran a business in Whitehall, a gas station in Whitehall, and like, my typical Arkansas, my folks were very frugal. Like, I didn't have no money to buy nothing. Like, Miss Blanche is talking about her allowance, and all this. It's like, if I wanted to buy something, I probably had to go work and make my own money, which is, by the way, that was good for me. However, well, I wasn't in any way spoiled, right? So I like this thing where I have a badass streamer set up in my room at the motel, and it didn't cost me. It was basically 1 week's wages, right? Back then, 1 week's wages bought not very much technology. It's not like you could work a week and buy a VCR in 1983. That just wasn't a thing. Or I couldn't anyway. Maybe somebody with a really good job could. Yeah, and my dad speaks very highly of it too. My dad's graduated in like 73, but from Jefferson Prep. I think his parents didn't. I think his dad didn't want him going to school with the blacks for whatever reason. There's a pretty decent streak of racism in some of the older generations of my family, and it's kind of strange to me because, like, living in Pine Bluff, it's kind of a bizarre thing to like live in that town and be not like black people on some level. But my dad's the type of racist that says, like, he'll express his opinion about a black, and black people say, but I never mistreated one, right? So he's got his own prejudices and views, but to him, the fact that he's never mistreated a black person based on their skin color, which, I mean, maybe there's something to that, but he'll say, I never mistreated one. But just talking that way is kind of a demeaning thing, isn't it? I mean, it seems that way, but whatever. I mean, that's his deal. Oh, right on, Miss amazing. Well, I'm not gonna pry into your business, so, and please don't dox yourself. So let's not go too much further into that. That's interesting. My father seemed to really enjoy going to Jefferson Prep, from what I can recall. Well, I'm just not a racist, right? Like, I'll express my views, but you know, I went to school in Whitehall. We had black kids that went to school with us, and you know, I looked up to some of them as a kid that liked to read books. Like, some of the intellectual book reading kids in my school were black. Like, especially there was a couple of them that were like 1 year ahead of me, or maybe 2 years ahead of me, that I looked up to. Larry Benton, youngest of the Bentons. Yeah. Youngest son of Jim, Big Jim. Yeah. Anyway, I don't even like going too deep Pine Bluff, but yeah. And again, it's kind of a ridiculous thing, but yeah. I'm pretty much the only one that never did any, like, didn't play high school sports at the minimum. Like, pretty much all of my other relatives played high school sports. Shout out to the Jehovah's Witnesses and having to beg to be in the band, right? I didn't want to play football anyway, but. Huh. Oh, with the racism, yeah. Well, and our version of it wasn't like bad. It was more like typical for the time, I would say. You know, typical for the time. Because, like I say, no actual racist would live in Pine Bluff. I mean, at the level of like wanting to hurt black people. You know, that's the way I look at it. Although, you know, they had the lunch counters, and, you know, supposedly Dick Gregory went there and, you know, did the sit-in or whatever. So, you know, there was all of that, and then the you know, the Little Rock Central thing, that's not too far away. Although that, of course, that was versions of a psyop. You know, would have had to have been. Apparently, my dad's having a class reunion, like this weekend, or maybe it just happened. But he's never been to any of his. I'm like, why would you want to go now? But I've never had any interest in going to any of my high school. I never even considered it. Like, why would I want to go do that? And I graduated from, my bozo parents moved us to Heber Springs the second half of my senior year. So I didn't even graduate from my high school, from Whitehall. I didn't even graduate. Like, well, why even go there? Graduate, and why would I go to the school I graduated from when I was barely there? And I'm the black sheep of the black sheep, just so you know, Ms. Blanche. You might suspect that, but I'm the black sheep of the black sheep in my family. I mean, my immediate family, because my dad's the black sheep of his family to some extent, having chosen to rebel and join the Jehovah's Witnesses right after I was born. All right, I gotta get out of here. I got another stream in an hour. All right, thanks for watching, and remember, I'm going live in an hour on the from the PC. Thanks for watching. Bye.